Welcome back to another Snappiness Q&A video. If you have a better name for that, please let me know. We got a lot of cool things to talk about today thanks to your questions. And thanks everyone for watching the previous video, the first version of this Q&A session. It's at almost 10,000 views, which is way more than I thought. So thank you, and even more, thank you for all the awesome questions and comments, so we can keep this format going, because I think it's rather fun. I am gonna get to your questions, but first I thought it'd be fun to add a couple new segments, and we'll see if we keep these up as well. It's all experimental. I'm gonna talk about some photo news that just happened this week that I think is particularly interesting. I think you will like as well. I'm gonna talk about some recent pickups that I've got and what's gonna go on with those. Some of them are quite exciting. And then I'm gonna shout out another YouTube channel I just saw. I thought that'd be fun to shout out some other people. Instagram, YouTube, or whatever. So starting off with the photo news, you know me, I'm not going to talk about the latest Sony whatever camera or Canon whatever camera, but this one actually is pretty cool and interesting. There's this rumor on Nikon Rumors that was just released on July 4th saying that Nikon might potentially be resurrecting the canceled DL line. So before we talk about that rumor, let me tell you about the DL line. Years ago, I think it was back in 2017, Nikon had almost completed production of this DL series. Basically, if you can think of like the Sony RX series, which was so successful, some of Canon's G double-digit series that's so successful, even earlier like Nikon P7000 series, higher end premium large sensor compact cameras. But then they scrapped the whole thing, citing some complications that had happened in production, and then the fact that by 2017, the compact camera market was slim to none, which is true. It's basically gone at that point. So that was probably a smart financial decision. But still, it's a bummer because these cameras looked really cool. And because they made it past the prototype stage, I've had a search alert out for years for these, just in case one like appeared in the wild. You never know. It's crazier things have happened. But I haven't seen anything at all. So I don't think they actually ever got anywhere with that. So going to this rumor, and it really is just a rumor. It's just from some random anonymous source. But said that they could be releasing a 24 megapixel 1-inch sensor compact camera with premium build materials, which is what we want to see. Anyway, I think this has potential. It's very cool. And it'd be super cool if they resurrected the Coolpix A APS-C compact camera that was like the Ricoh GR competitor. That would be sweet as well. And then I got to shout out this brand new YouTube channel. He only has 30 subscribers right now. So go over and subscribe, and let's see if we can get him over 100. The channel is Mugen Film, which I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but his first YouTube video is a banger, as the kids say. And it's because he took, if you remember these Nikon lenses that I did a video on like 2 years ago, the underwater only lenses don't focus well above water. So I handled that by extending the flange distance, but then there's some weird distortion still going on. But he did something I thought was really cool, where he actually puts water in front of the lens so that it can act like it's underwater even though it's above water. And the results are in the video. You should watch it. I'm not going to spoil it, but check that out and give him a subscribe if that's what you're into. Okay, now for some exciting recent pickups. I'll start with maybe the most exciting, second most exciting. This is the Nikon N90. Just kidding. This is the Kodak DCS 460 digital camera, which I finally picked up. These ones have a pretty big constraint for people wanting to get back into it, and it's that they have a proprietary battery pack that recharges in the camera. So not only do you need a working battery, which is extremely difficult at this point in time, but also the charging cable that came with it that works. And both of those things are very difficult to find. However, there's somebody on eBay, the eBay username is called PhotoNut, I believe, I bought this from, that is doing battery pack rebuilds. And I'm sure somebody could do an even better job at this, but this suffices for me. They just routed a new external battery pack and then Velcroed it on the back here, and then you can take this off and charge it via USB, and it provides the correct voltage for the camera. There's a couple of small hiccups where the camera will drop voltage occasionally and then recover, but at the end of the day, it does work, and I did test it, it does work, and so that's an exciting option. You pay extra for it versus getting this body by itself without a charger or any way to use it. But it was worth the money to get one that actually worked so that I could use it and make a video on and have fun with it. So that's an exciting pickup. And then from Used Photo Pro, if you've ever used them, they're one of my favorites. I picked up 2 Nikon cameras. First, the Nikon Z7. So I've been falling in love with the Nikon Z system. It's it's kind of a bad thing maybe because it's like kind of taking over my obsession with Pentax, my over 15 years obsession with Pentax. The Nikon Z series to me is the like most DSLR feeling mirrorless system, new mirrorless system. I've used a lot of mirrorless systems, basically all of them except the Canon R system, and they've all been great, but this one's my favorite so far. So I picked up the Z7, I have the Z6 I picked up over a year ago. Love that camera, but I wanted some of the upgrades that are on the, oh, that's so funny. They left the card in it. Okay, Use Photo Pro gave me a 64 gigabyte CF Express card. That's worth something. That was nice of them. Oh, and there's photos on here too. Are these like their test photos? Anyway, I don't know if they meant to do that. Anyway, so this is an upgrade to my Z6, just more resolution. There's some other reasons too, but I don't know how much you guys care about that. Excited about that camera. And then we picked up a Nikon D60. I paid $50 for this, just over $50. And it's in great condition. It works awesome. This is going to be a modification camera. Hopefully I'll get to this soon and share it with you because I got a cool idea for this. And then last but not least, I will briefly flash this camera, which some of you guessed in the last video, and we'll talk more about that later. Okay, first question is from Unbroken1010, which I recognize that username. Thanks for commenting on all my videos. He says, or they say, I need a good recommendation for point and shoot camera, not expensive. Yeah, don't we all? Here, I got a couple of options for you. Okay, this is not at all an exhaustive list, and I also don't know what you want, like focal length or like megapixels or any other specifications. So here's just like a random assortment of cameras I have that you might want to think about, anybody who's watching this, for an inexpensive point and shoot. If you do the research and you dig around, there are tons of inexpensive point and shoots still. You just have to avoid the ones that got hyped up. Okay, kicking us off, an oldie but a goodie, any of the Panasonic LX series. And what's fun about these is you can go throughout the generations and end up paying more and getting more megapixels and other different features, or go older and save money and you lose some of the features. But they're all great fun cameras to use with great results, and some of them are pretty cheap still, I think, for what they are. This is the LX2, and it's a great little camera gifted to me. If you're okay with like old point and shoots and getting more of that older digital aesthetic early 2000s look, this is a camera I just picked up and I really, really like. I actually want to talk more about this for how much I like this. This is the Konica Digital Revea KD500Z 5 megapixel Digicam from who knows when, I forget. Check this out. This part's really cool. This is how you turn it on. Did you see those lights? It's so cool. And then you shut the lens, you just move it part way. Lens shuts all the way, and then, yeah, just so cool. It's got a pretty premium metal exterior, which is awesome, and then I think the images look sweet. It doesn't have all the controls you'd want in the world, like you're not manually controlling everything or whatever, but I think this is a cool camera, pretty cheap and underrated. Another series I would just throw out there is any of these Fujifilm FinePix F series cameras. This is the F10, but I've owned the F11 and some other ones, and these are also fantastic. Some of these have the super CCD that Fujifilm was using back then, and that's great too, but they're super fast to use. Some of them even have like semi-manual controls like this one. Okay, I got 3 more suggestions for you. This one just counts as one, a combo. I made a video about these. They're kind of the new plastic trendy screenless cameras, and they're getting a lot better. I know these are somewhat controversial, so if it's not your thing, that's okay. These ones are really different, but they're kind of my favorite. So the flashback is really well built. Flash on it is great. I think the images turn out really cool. It's just a super fun, like throw in your bag everywhere type of camera, take a bunch of pictures and see what they look like later. The one thing I didn't like about this one is how tight it is to the app. So that's a huge downside for me. And then the rewind pics, I think you saw this too if you watched that video. These cameras are super cool. They got a really big, bright optical viewfinder there. Obviously not through the lens, but good for framing. It's kind of fun to use it that way. Flash on this camera is also great. The images are also great. This one, you do not need to use an app to use it, and even like adjust filters and everything, which is great. Maybe a little too gimmicky for what you want, but 2 more options. These ones actually get crazier. This is the DxO1, which was sort of like a smartphone accessory camera. Look how tiny it is. But it has a huge 1-inch sensor, and you can use it completely independently of a smartphone even today. There's a micro SD card in there that you can just pop into your computer, and then you can shoot blind or a certain firmware version gives you the ability to get this like monochrome live view here. If you want a larger live view, then you can get that on your phone. You can download the older app, just like side load it to your phone. And that's what I did with mine. So super cool camera, actually incredible image quality, and then it's just super small. I like shooting it that kind of anonymous way, just kind of shooting shots, and they all come out like a little bit skewed and stuff, but just kind of a fun setup. And like really inexpensive for how good it is. It's pretty crazy. And then I assume you meant digital, but you didn't specify. So I'll just throw out that there's a lot of compact point and shoot 35mm film cameras that are really cheap. This one's more expensive. It's the Ricoh R1, but I sold my other one, so this was all I had. But for about 20 bucks, you can get some old Minoltas, some old Pentax point and shoots. They're actually really good. Like the lenses on them are fantastic. And so the images are gonna turn out just awesome. And you just have to pay a little extra for the film and developing. But if you have the budget and you're willing to go through that, we have to throw this out as an option, of course, because like image quality wise, for the price of like the initial camera and everything, you can't beat film. Okay, next question comes from Lawsome Photo, who says, do you only have rare cameras? If not, what are some cheap cameras you like and keep, and why? That's a great question, because if you just follow me on social media, which is basically all of you, yeah, it would appear like I only own really rare, obscure cameras that are not practical to use. I used to make more videos about just like cheap practical cameras, but anyway, my interests have kind of shifted and I got bored of that. Maybe I'll go back to that because that is fun to do. So I definitely still have normal cameras like the Pentax K1. Okay, just kidding. My normal Pentax K1 is over there. Somebody was shouting out the transparent one in the last video. But the question was specifically about cheap cameras. And so like, yeah, I have a lot of cheap, nice cameras that I like to use that aren't rare. Like the Nikon D200 I mentioned in the last video, which is just like one of my favorite old DSLRs of all time. Also, just to throw out a mirrorless camera, my Olympus EP-L2. I always forget which one this is. Yeah, PL2, that I converted to infrared. Yeah, it's super cheap and affordable. The lenses are affordable, and then the camera itself is awesome. So as much as I like rare, weird old cameras, also using cheap cameras to get fantastic results, both those things tickle my fancy, or whatever they say. Okay, the next question is from Adam Coca Photography. What Digicam do you enjoy using but is also a hassle with modern tech? And two specifically came to mind as like the biggest hassles ever. I think this is the biggest hassle to use in my entire collection. This is the Polaroid PDC 2000, Polaroid's first digital camera. And it doesn't use external media. There's a built-in 40 megabyte hard drive inside here that spins up when you turn it on. And the only way you can get images off of it is with the proprietary cable that they provided, which then I had to link to like another SCSI connector thing. I'll try to put an image on the screen because it was ridiculous. And then use Polaroid's official software on top of that to get out the PDC files. And anyway, hilarious setup, and it just such a pain to use. However, I just recently picked up the PDC 3000, the follow-up camera for this, which uses a CF card, which is way easier than this. So I don't recommend this camera. I recommend the PDC 3000 if you're into this. But then a less extreme example would be like this camera, the Ricoh RR1, which is such a crazy cool old camera, but it uses smart media as its media choice. And my smart media reader died, and they're hard to come by. And then anything with weird batteries, like that camera has a weird battery too. So yeah, there's a bunch of hard ones. Next question is from Cameron Ricks4157. People are always saying that all modern cameras are good enough, you can't tell them apart. I'm curious, from your perspective, is that true? And if so, when did that become the case? At what point did all cameras become so excellent as to produce indistinguishably excellent results? I'm proud of myself for pronouncing that on the first try. Yeah, this is a very subjective take, but I do think for the most part, yeah, definitely they're good enough and you can't tell them apart. Obviously on the fringes of like very extreme types of photography, there have been advancements that have been helpful. So autofocus speed is helpful, and like accuracy is helpful for certain extreme situations. The high ISO performance and like low noise is also helpful for certain situations. But the vast majority of photography that's taking place, I would go back to like the 16 megapixel era. This is me personally. So what's that, like 10 years ago now, or 12 years ago now? Like the 2012 era of DSLRs, I think at that point we were starting to get to the point where you can just take fantastic photos. And if you're producing them in really normal formats, or like up to sizes of like 11 by 14 or 16 by 20 or something, I don't think you can really tell the difference personally, like if we started doing real side-by-side comparisons. Now, that being said, yes, there are differences. Higher megapixels do have certain advantages, obviously, for cropping and just huge print sizes and whatever. And dynamic range has gotten a little bit better and things like that. But I know I'm not the best person to ask because I'm not a professional photographer. So you should probably ask your friends that are, or if you are. Okay, Yinbin64 asks, what do you think is the most boring camera you have ever used? Okay, I found some candidates. I used to joke it was like modern Sony or Canon cameras because they're just so sterile and there's no soul left in them. But the truth of the matter is that once you go out and you start taking photos, you just have fun with everything. So even these examples I'm going to show you, like if you're just out taking photos, you're going to enjoy yourself. But some cameras are just like frustrating to use because they're like slow or just uninspiring, the results. And then those, I guess, would qualify as boring. So here's some just examples, not trying to pick on any of these. This is a Nikon point and shoot. It's like a touchscreen flat point and shoot camera, and it's just fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's kind of fun to shoot. Another example of a camera I actually thought I would like, this is a Canon point and shoot, the Optio VS20. The cool thing about this is it has a 20x optical zoom, which is cool. And then it has actually a vertical shutter button. So both a horizontal and vertical shutter button, which I believe is the only point and shoot camera to do that, to include that feature, which is just crazy. But once again, like the results weren't anything that like struck me as particularly interesting. The camera's kind of slow. That's my biggest frustrating thing, is when I miss shots consistently because the camera's like wigging out about things. I guess that doesn't qualify as boring. That's frustrating, but I'm a camera optimist. I think all cameras are great. Okay, next question is from NKKRISZ YouTube. I just spelled your username. They say, how and when did you get into photography? What made you interested in older stuff? And then they have a second question, favorite places to discuss camera-related things. I guess that's 3 questions. I've told this story before, but it's always a fun one. I got into photography when I was a kid, when my parents just had film point and shoot cameras, and I would go out and shoot them. And film was, kind of expensive. We didn't have limitless money, so there was just select times where I could actually shoot the camera. So I was super excited when my great uncle gifted us this little digital Canon point and shoot camera. It was like an A240, or I don't remember what it was called, little like 2 megapixel camera. And that just blew me away that I could now just take limitless photos basically and have fun with it. So I did everything from like little stop motion films with my little Matchbox cars, and then just like taking it everywhere and shooting and experimenting with the photography. Later on, I got another Canon point and shoot camera as a teenager, and I really enjoyed that camera. I used the CHDK Canon Hack Development Kit to play around with that and get some manual controls because it didn't have one. There's like a base model at Walmart that they had. And then that same great uncle from earlier actually gifted me then a Pentax DSLR, which was amazing because I could not afford one at the time. And that got me into DSLR photography, like manual controls, and really digging into that, and interchangeable lenses, and then obviously Pentax, which is why I'm into Pentax. And then what got me interested in older stuff was I was buying newer cameras, still used. I didn't have limitless money, and I just started getting bored and my creativity was kind of dropping. So then this thought came to me, like, what if I bought some like piece of junk DSLR nobody wants and went out and shot with that and still got good results? I always love that idea of like making better photos than like some annoying person online with like way worse equipment. Because photography is definitely one of those hobbies where people online are like all about how nice their gear is, but then their pictures are like terrible. Anyway, so I thought that idea was funny, and I found on Pentax forums a group of photographers that were shooting 6 megapixel DSLRs on purpose. They called it the 6 megapixel club. That was one of my first videos I ever published on YouTube. It's quite terrible, but I've left it up there as a little historic thing. And yeah, I picked one up. I wanted to make a little film about it. I did, and thus started this crazy hobby. And then the third part of that question was favorite places to discuss camera-related things. So I used to use forums a lot, but now I don't, and I just hop around on YouTube. I talk to people on Instagram. I still roam forums for information. I just don't like publish as much. And then I have a Discord channel for channel members, and that's super fun. It's a great community. There, I'm just plugging that. Thanks to everyone who's a channel member. Okay, next question from Marky T.O. says, which are your favorite cameras? So I've talked about this before, and I think I'm still the same way, but we'll see. My Pentax K1, my non-transparent one, but I'm too lazy to go get it. I love this camera. It was my first full-frame DSLR. It just works. You can rely on it. and the images are awesome. And yeah, I could shoot with this camera all the time. I have great lenses for it, vintage lenses for it. And then the Ricoh GR, if this is my island camera, if I could only have one camera, it would be the Ricoh GR. That's because I can carry it anywhere, and especially as somebody with little kids now, I don't often carry large cameras. It's just too hard to carry this and then like wrangle your kid from jumping off a cliff. So I like these cameras, pocket cameras, and the Ricoh GR is just my favorite one. You can just do so many things with it. I've shot astrophotography, landscapes, portraits, like daily life stuff. Love this camera. But that's not to say anything bad about my other cameras. I love you all. I am a camera optimist after all. And then like I mentioned at the beginning, I am getting into the Nikon Z system. I'm getting along with it quite well, I guess I would say. Will it ever overthrow Pentax? No, because of my history with Pentax, but certainly this is becoming one of my go-to cameras that I really enjoy using. Okay, I'm going to try to rapid fire through a bunch of these questions because there's some good ones in here. Robert Chestnut 3331 asks, have you ever tried the Leica M8? No, I haven't. Have I used any Leica camera before? Yeah, I used a Leica X1 point and shoot camera. That was APS-C. That camera was awesome. I think I would love the Leica M8. I really liked my Epson RD1 rangefinder. I even liked the newer Pixie rangefinder camera, so I think I'd get along with the rangefinder. And then it's kind of the ultimate rangefinder camera, right? And it's full frame and all that. So yeah, I think I would love it. And they also asked, do you have a favorite lens in your collection? I do. I'll go get it. This is the Pentax FA Limited 43 millimeter, kind of a pancake lens. And I love this lens. We get along quite well. Okay, Johnny Pachado says that they love to see more videos on the Sony f828 and a Canon EOS M. I do have a Canon EOS M, and I don't know how you know that. You must have seen it somewhere in the last video. Yeah, I haven't done anything with it. I have big plans and I just haven't gone around to it. But yeah, if I have time, we will see that one. And then the f828, I love that camera. I did keep it because it's just one of my all-time favorites. Weird cameras that's still really good. I do not know where it is. It is in here somewhere. That's how bad it's become. No, I think I have like a box of bridge cameras, so it's in there. But yeah, that'd be cool to make another video on that. Okay, this next question from Jason Dickey is a good one. Should I get into film? Yeah, how much money do you have? You can actually shoot film pretty affordably. You have to buy cheaper film. Usually they're like the good black and white film is pretty affordable still. Color is gonna be a little bit more. Developing, you can save a lot of money if you develop by yourself. I do that not because I'm good at it, but because it's affordable and I enjoy it. I like doing that. It's just a fun thing to do, manual process, you listen to music while you do it or whatever. And then of course you can send it to a lab. That's gonna start costing more, especially for those scans and stuff. So there's no reason to get into film. Don't make anyone force you to get into film or think you have to be into film to be a real photographer or anything. You can get great results with any camera. So use what you enjoy and have fun with. But yeah, if you have an inkling towards film, maybe find a friend nearby that likes film, join a club or something, just kind of experiment with it a little bit before buying all the equipment. And then if you like it, go for it. Many people have lost a lot of money shooting film photography these days, but it's good, it's fun. Roger FKT asks, are you still designing your own digital camera? Yeah, I have some really cool designs that some of them actually went pretty far where I almost made a video and then I wanted to do some more tweaks and we've just stopped. It's just a time thing. Yeah. I don't know if I'll get around to it, hopefully one day. The Lonesome asks, is anybody trying to make lens turrets for adapting vintage glass? You know, they use this in cinema cameras sometimes, so there are some existing ones. And then I made one for my Camp Snap, and it actually worked out pretty good. So if you didn't see that video, not very many people did. It didn't do very well. I thought it was crazy, and it was super fun. That was just for C-mount glass, though. It wasn't like big glass. How crazy would a lens turret be with like full frame glass on it? And that's what they have for like the cinema stuff. Yeah, check out that video. Matt J Video asks, James, if you had to start over from scratch, which cameras or camera lens combo would you buy? My recommendation to all photographers that come to me just wanting like a basic camera to shoot with, that's not a point and shoot, but like a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. My recommendation, if their budget is really tight, is like a 10 megapixel CCD camera like the Nikon D200. Where was that? Like this. And then get like, my favorite kit lenses are the 18 to 135 in any of the camera brands because they're just so sharp and so versatile. And then also like a Plastic Fantastic 50 millimeter f1.8. From there you can expand, of course, but that's like my go-to recommendation for everybody on a budget. If you have more money, go up to the 16 megapixel DSLR. If you have a little bit more budget, like 300 bucks, you can get up to the 24 megapixel DSLRs. And at that point, like you're just getting such fantastic value, fantastic results. So if I had to start over and assuming I had a tight budget, that's totally what I would do. Like a 16 to 24 megapixel DSLR, those two lenses, build it up from there. Okay, Moises Brando has a question. It's kind of a joke. Will you sell me your X530, my Polaroid? Yes, for nothing shipped. What does that mean? For no money? You want it for free? That thing cost me 300 bucks. Yeah, I don't know if you follow Chris and Jordan over on Petapixel or any of the stuff they've put out on their website about the Polaroid X530 based on my stuff. But let's just say it's no longer in my hands, but just temporarily. TC227 asks a great question. I'm curious about how you choose which camera to bring if you're out for a photo walk, and how do you decide which camera to let go? Yeah, when you have this many cameras, choosing a camera to go out and walk is a totally unnecessary problem to have and that I've just created for myself. Usually it's just a practical thing, like if it's okay that I might miss the shot or mess something up, I bring whatever the camera is that I want to make a video on at some point. So I'm getting some shots and getting used to the camera and getting some feedback that I want to share in the video. If it's a photographic opportunity that I really want to capture a certain way, then I'll bring out something like tried and true and tested and loved, like the Pentax K1, or now the Nikon Z series, or the Ricoh GR. I have a couple other point and shoots that might fit in that category. And then if I'm just going out for a walk, and especially if it's a walk I go on a lot and it's kind of boring, then that's when I really like to take out different kinds of cameras. So like bring out an infrared camera, bring out a film camera, or bring out a weird lens that just like a macro lens and just see what I can take macro shots of. And that makes like the normal photo walks more interesting. That's my thought process. How do you decide which camera to let go? Ultimately, at the end of the day, I need to let go of everything. So I go through these waves of like getting rid of stuff and then I accumulate more stuff. Really, it should come down to, and does come down to, like what cameras am I actually using? So like the Epson RD1 that I let go of, and the Mamiya ZD, which I love both those cameras to death. Those came down to, ultimately, I love them so much, but I just was not using them, especially because they're kind of expensive and rare. And at the end of the day, I want very few cameras that just sit on the shelf, like my transparent K1 that I don't want to take out. That could probably just be my one. And the rest of them are going to be using cameras. And if I'm not using them, I'll send them off to somebody else that wants to use them. Okay, I did not at all get to all the questions. Keep them coming on this video and I'll try to get to more of them in the next video. I try to get as many as I can. And now it's time for me to go to bed. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it. And as always, happy snapping.